going live for a little bit. Good afternoon and welcome to the Gold Goats and Guns, I don't know, happy dance here on Tuesday, September 10th, 2019. Look, we have good news for once. It never happens anymore that we get good news. It's been bad news recently. It's been terrible. But John Bolton's out. He's no longer National Security Advisor. I thought we should talk about it. So we're going to sit down and talk about 20 minutes, maybe half an hour or so. We're not going to do the normal hour-long stream that I would normally do on Monday nights and Friday nights, which you can find me here on YouTube on Monday nights at 8, Friday nights at 8:30. You can also find my work over tomluongo.me, as well as TFL1728 on Twitter. But while we wait for a couple of people to get into the channel, let's not forget that you can also support my work over at Patreon/Gold-Goats-and-Guns, as well as over on Patreon. You can just donate to via PayPal or crypto or whatever you want. All those links are down below. Please link, tweet, hashtag, do the thing, send it out to the world. Let's get some people in here. Let's jump for joy for once in the past 6 months, because really it's been very difficult to watch this administration slowly sink into irrelevancy. So, all right. Let's get down to brass tacks. John Bolton's out as National Security Advisor. This was actually not unexpected, but the longer it went on that he wasn't fired, the less faith I had that Trump was actually going to fire him. After the Iran incident with the drone, where Iran shot down one of our Global Hawk drones, which should have presented and should have started the process towards a hot war with Iran, which John Bolton has been adamant that is necessary for over a decade, if not close to 2 decades now. It's been his primary, raison d'etre. He gets up in the morning, he's like, how can I manipulate the president into bombing Iran? It's an insane and it's a disgusting place to be. I'm sure that John Bolton would disagree with me vehemently. I'm like, sorry, dude, prove it. Because who the hell can figure out that your life is animated by anything other than an animus to destroy Iran? You may have your reasons for it, John, but it's still disgusting. All right, so there it is. And I wrote an article back the day after the incident, a couple days after the incident. I said, who survives Iran's retaliation? Because Iran has been retaliating slowly but surely, little bits here and there. And I'm going to go into some of those things over the course of the next couple of minutes. But understand that I said then that Iran would retaliate here. And they would retaliate asymmetrically, which they have. They've had the Houthis, for example, send drones 700 miles farther north than anybody thought the Houthis should send a drone to attack a major Saudi oil field last week. We've had them seize a British oil tanker with the British Navy in the Persian Gulf, and the Brits did nothing about it. Okay. There have been multiple other smaller incidents with Hezbollah and the Syrian Arab Army and others, and tying in all of this with Israel's response to have bombed Shiite militia ammo dumps outside of Baghdad, killing civilians, using U.S. bases in order to fly the jets in. All of this stuff is incredibly bad form. And it's put Donald Trump in a more and more precarious situation in the Middle East with his policy. And in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, his deal of the century with the Palestinians, produced and directed by Jared Kushner and Bibi Netanyahu. Nope, sorry, not happening. All of this stuff is unraveling. And I just finished an article, I think the other day. Did I write one for Strategic Culture Readiness? No, I didn't. But I've written something about this recently, and I can't remember which place I wrote it for. But slowly but surely, all of Trump's Middle Eastern ambitions have unraveled. And all of the signs and portents are there. And so if he wanted to extricate himself from these policies, he has to start with getting rid of the personnel, because there's a very salient bit of aphorism in politics, which is that personnel is policy. And for the last year and a half, 2 years, Sheldon Adelson and AIPAC and Kushner and Netanyahu have pressured Trump to add nothing but pro-Israeli neoconservatives into positions of power in the Trump administration. Gina Haspel at the CIA, Mike Pompeo at State, John Bolton as National Security Advisor, and the list goes on to other smaller appointments within the White House. So the gig here is that it has to start with someone, and Bolton has been the person that Trump has publicly disagreed with now for weeks on end. And I said in that article that he had 6 to 8 weeks to prove to everybody that he wasn't what he's now portraying himself to be, which is, an unrepentant Israeli firster and warmonger willing to blow up the entire Middle East. He has to prove that. He can't just say it. We can't just kind of intuit it or any of this other stuff. We can't sit here and hope that he's playing 4D chess, or no, really, Trump is trying to get us out of this and he's held down. No, dude, this is your record. As one of my regulars on my private Slack server tells me all the time, here's his list. Here are the people. Here are the list of actions. Hard to argue with. You're right, it is hard to argue with, except for those are his actions. On the other side of it is everybody else's actions in relation to Trump. And I'm firmly of the opinion that very little of that has been kabuki theater, staged for our entertainment and consumption. I fully believe that the powers that be in Washington and in Europe have completely freaked out over the populist wave that has taken over both in the U.S. and in Europe. And I think that that's real. And I think the people that they're most allied against all across the West, Trump, Nigel Farage, Salvini, Viktor Orban, Marine Le Pen, yada, 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 AfD in Germany. I think all of that's very real. And I think these people still have a tremendous amount of power, and they have all of the institutions wrapped around their fingers, and they can play parliamentary games and judicial games all they want. But at the end of the day, they're going to lose because they're fighting against a trend that is firmly in place. Period. Locust says that Ben Shapiro was mad. Well, that's just made my day. If, a feckless twat like Ben Shapiro is angry, well, then this is good. Because he now knows that his beloved Israel is in a much weaker position. I got news for you, dude. Israel is actually in a stronger position today now that John Bolton is out. And I'm going to explain why in just a minute. And if I don't, please hold my feet to the fire, because I'm doing this without notes. So Bolton being out is a good thing. It puts a down payment on what Trump has to do to extricate himself from the foreign policy trajectory that he set in motion from the day he withdrew from the JCPOA. There was a report this morning that the Iranians will have a bomb within the next 18 months. They'll have the material for a bomb, and obviously they have the technology from the North Koreans, so they'll have a bomb. That freaks people out. Trump has no cards to play with Iran. Iran doesn't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. He doesn't believe he can implement any agreements that he signs, even if he were be willing to sign. Same thing with North Korea. China, Xi Jinping came out today and said he can't trust anything Trump says. And I might remind many of you, unfortunately, many of you who are currently regulars on this channel were not here in 2017 when Trump bombed Khan Shaykhun in response to the chemical weapons attack. But he bombed the Al Sharat Air Base in response to the chemical weapons attack in Khan Shaykhun. And I said then that this is going to hurt him in the long run. It's going to make him look unreliable. It's going to make everybody pause and wonder what his game is. Now, he thinks that that works for him as a negotiating tactic. It doesn't in geopolitics. This is not negotiating a frickin' hotel. I've said this many, many times, and I will continue to say it until Donald Trump is no longer on the political scene or I drop dead of a heart attack, whatever comes first. Though looking at my heart numbers, they were really good. So I'm betting on Trump leaving the scene before I'm done ranting into a microphone, which is awesome, by the way. Just, you know. So I said it then, the night of that attack, on Periscope, in front of 200 people, and I alienated 160 of them by saying it. This is not good. This is the wrong play. This is the wrong play. And we're downstream of that decision since then. Trump has done nothing to put in motion and to allay the fears of his interlocutor in negotiators and the people he's interlocuting with, he's interacting with. His interlocutors is the word I was looking for, and going to screw up, so I want to round it. Like Putin, like Xi Jinping, like Modi, like Rouhani, like the rest of them. Elijah Magnier has a great article out today explaining what's going on with Iran and why the moderates like Rouhani and the foreign minister Javad Zarif are no longer in charge of Iranian policy vis-a-vis the United States. The hardliners are now not going to give us anything. As a matter of fact, they're going to get the bomb and have the ability to export all the oil that they want, because that's the situation, because that's what Trump and Netanyahu and Kushner and the rest of them and John Bolton set in motion. Mike Pompeo went to Lebanon and tried to blackmail them 3 months ago. Nasrallah in Lebanon told him to go fuck himself. It was beautiful. Yeah, I mean, Lebanon's got is got an incipient currency crisis and everything else, but they'll weather it. They'll weather it. Same way with Iran. They'll weather it. So, there's Ryan Cohen saying, "I'll never forget that legendary night on Periscope, Tom. Thank you very much. I was in fuego that night for an hour and 45 minutes trying to explain to people why this was bad. And very few people got it. But I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So we're downstream of these decisions. And these are a series of bad decisions all the way down the line for Donald Trump. And he's now reversed one of those terrible decisions. And what this tells me is that Sheldon Adelson, and I've been hearing rumors about this for months, is Sheldon Adelson no longer has any sway within the White House because Trump doesn't need him anymore. Doesn't need his money anymore. Okay? And we're watching the effects of Trump trying to put himself in a position to win the 2020 election in a walk, which he knows is going to be difficult anyway because of the insane levels of voter fraud that are going to come and the insane level of pushback within the GOP, which is still coming. He's got a lot of work to do. So you can see this is where we are. And everybody on the other side of the negotiation with Iran has known this. They've been playing for time. They've been playing the long game the entire time. Trump has gone for the high pressure bluff, and it didn't work. And now he's screwed. You know, he's just screwed. So, what have we got? The Insufferable Butthole says, "Oh, love that name, because that's what most people think about me." Why did it take so long to flush this turd? Because things grind slowly. Because Trump was going to push the policy as far as it was going to go until it became obvious that there was no way for him to win with that policy. See, this is the problem. When you're bluffing, okay, so think of it like a hand of poker. You open the hand opens with Trump. Trump's opening offer when he looks down at his cards and he's got, I don't know, let's say he's got Jack Queen suited, or I don't know, King Queen suited. A good hand, not a great hand, a good hand. Jack Queen suited or Queen King suited. It's a good hand. And during the opening bid, during the opening round of bidding, he just fronts like he's got aces and says, "We're leaving the JCPOA. We're putting maximum pressure on Iran. And we're not going to let them do any oil or anything else. We're going to let them export any oil. Yada yada yada." We're going to do all this stuff. And this is the strategy. It's in play. This is the play. It's in plan. It's in place. As we go through the hand and Trump flops a flush draw, but not a pair, everybody who's still in the hand, i.e. Iran, sitting on a pair of aces, they know Trump's on a flush draw. Or even better, the ace comes down, they flop the ace, they've got a set of aces, and he's sitting on a flush draw. And they've got him dominated. Done. He's done. Or even better, they're sitting on like ace 10. And ace 10 comes on the flop. They've got two pair. He's got a flush draw. He's screwed. Done. They've got him dominated. If he gets his flush draw, if he makes his flush, they've got a boat. He's done. Can't win. That's the metaphor. And we just turned the river card. And the river card is Trump just realized he was dominated the entire time when the Iranians show him their hand. And Putin and Xi and Modi and everyone else. You have to understand, this isn't just one person. This isn't just one thing. It's all of them against Trump, the Saudis, and the Israelis. And they've all completely banded together to play this hand. The Houthis in Yemen, the Syrian Arab Army, and the Russian Air Force in Idlib, or Homs, taking back Khan Shaykhun. Turkey having to back off from the demilitarized zone and move their observation post north of the M5, north of the Aleppo-Latakia highway, giving up, ceding half of Idlib to the Tiger forces and the Russian forces there. I can't just say Russian Air Force anymore because I know for a fact that there are Spetsnaz on the ground. Okay. Turkey having to, the U.S. in desperation, to cut a deal with Turkey to be able to keep our planes in Incirlik, for Christ's sake, having to cut a deal with Turkey in order to and screw over the Kurds in northern Syria. Okay. Israel completely overstepping its bounds in the run up to the election for Netanyahu by putting American troops in precarious position in Iraq. You realize that, right? That the Israeli airstrikes in Iraq, blowing up ammo dumps for the Shiite militias there, killing civilians, that the Iraqi parliament has turned against the United States having an occupation force there and wanting, and there's a movement, a strong movement now within the Iraqi parliament to rescind our invitation to be in Iraq, which means that then we will be there illegally as well as in Syria illegally. Do you realize that? And that will then open up the opportunity for Iranian-backed Shiite militias to snipe and start killing our guys in Iraq. You think Trump wants that? You think he wants to see? You don't think Iran is not going to play games with a few soldiers' lives here in the run-up to an election cycle? You really think that? Got news for you. That's what's going to happen. So why did it take this long? Because the hand finally played itself out. Because Trump finally realized he can't win. He had this, and slowly but surely, all of this stuff is having to back off. He's backing off on high piracy on the friggin' open seas and all of this stupid shit that they've been pulling. And that the Brits have been actually pushing us into. All these people have been pushing Trump towards a policy he doesn't want, which has been completely true. You should celebrate that Bolton's gone. It's a good, but don't celebrate for too long because, the swamp is deep. RB Tools asks, I wonder what it was, the straw that broke Bolton's back. Was it the failed, is Venezuela stunned or Iran? No. With Trump, you never know. Method or madness. I think actually it was the Iran. In the end, I think Bolton is probably still telling Trump that he needs to go to war with Iran. And just before they get the bomb. That this morning's set of headlines that I saw at Zero Hedge this morning, I was going to start to write something about that later in the day. I was working on the newsletter this morning. I was, I'm sitting there playing the bass and practicing, and then the news, and then y'all came up across my Discord channel and went, oh, by the way, like, oh, yes. All right, now I got to do something. Now I got to talk. I gotta, chat with y'all or do whatever I have to do. There's also the possibility here that Netanyahu's going to lose. The polls are tight, guys. The polls are tight. Jambo likes my my analogy, saying that the only problem was that Israel was telling everybody Trump's hand. Trump's hand was obvious in the beginning. Israel didn't have to do any work, didn't have to really help. So, it's a crazy thing, man. It really is, to watch this play out. But it's obvious now that Trump is in full-on re-election mode. He's starting to clean up his Foreign Policy Act and get prepared for an election cycle that he needs to be. I think I know what did it. Bolton. The implication is that Bolton scuttled the talks between Trump and the Taliban at Camp David to end the Afghanistan war. And I think Trump finally had enough of that shit. Because, you got to remember that Afghanistan is something he definitely wants to get out of. And that the Russians and the Pakistanis and China have done good work to bring all sides together to come up with some form of a workable solution. And the United States is going to have to leave they have to pull most of their troops out of Afghanistan, and we'll probably still leave a few there. And someone's got to tend the poppy fields after all. But I think that we could see a bigger drawdown out of Afghanistan than even Trump was talking about. Remember, he's talking about, we're going to pull 7,000 troops out. Yeah, but you put 8,000 in when McMaster told you to do it. So you need to pull 12,000 troops out or 13,000 troops out of Afghanistan and not put any Blackwater guys in. And whatever deal you cut with the Taliban, which now is apparently off the table, is going to have to include getting rid of some of the bases there as well, which, of course, Bolton and Pompeo and the rest of them don't want. We don't want any of the bases to go away. We just want to end the war. That's what Trump is trying to do here. He's trying to play this game where he can end the war officially, but still leave all our troops there in all of these bases in an untenable position so that they can be called up at a moment's notice to attack Iran. That's the plan, guys. And it's so freaking obvious to everybody, and no one's happy with it. Except for Israel. Now, why is this actually good for Israel? It's good for Israel because at the end of the day, Israel is going to have to give up on its illusions of having anything more than it currently has. And when it finally does that, as a society, when the United States finally takes its put away, it's like we talk about the central banker put, they'll never let the markets drop because there's a put, because the central bank has bought puts underneath the market, sold puts underneath the market. The market's not going below this level. Same thing. Our support of Israel actually emboldens Israel to be adventurous and to keep the area and the region at war. We start to pull that back. We end that, and got news, folks. They're gonna have to start acting like a normal country, to use Pompeo's terms. Same thing with Saudi Arabia. They lost the war in Yemen. That thing is over. Okay? The situation in Saudi Arabia is becoming quite desperate. I've got verbiage for this month's newsletter about this as well, and what I think is happening and what's going to happen next. So interesting. Blue Capitalist is funny. I went downstairs after I saw the news to chat with my wife and go, oh, by the way, Camille, get happy. Put your iPad down. Shh. Ready? John Bolton's been fired. And the first words out of her mouth was, he should hire Tulsi Gabbard as his... She's like, no, think about it. I'm like, no, I get it. It's not going to happen, but I get all the upside on it, of course. And Blue Capitalist is like, he should get rid of Haspel and Pompeo next. Well, yeah. Then after that, Gabbard drops out of the presidential race and grabs her for Secretary of State. I'm going to tell you this. Trump's second term, which if he continues this pullback in the Middle East, and he continues this pullback on a maximum pressure campaign for Israel. If this ends and we start to get real movement, remember, we've got the French now saying that the Russian sanctions should be lifted or should be eased, and all of this stuff. It's all starting to happen, right? All of this stuff, all of this pressure is broken against the wall, right? This is a big wave of pressure that's crashed against an immovable object, against hundreds of millions of people that just said, fuck you. And the United States is not strong enough financially, culturally, economically, militarily to take them all on. It's just not. As good as we are, as powerful as we are, we're just not those people anymore. Yeah, I mean, if he replaces Bolton with like Dick Cheney, then take back everything I just said. But truth of the matter is, I think this is a lot deeper than that. I really do. So, happy about this. This is all very, very, very good. Not a bad thing in any way, manner, shape, or form. But he's going to have to follow through here. And he's going to have to follow through with real policy decisions. He's going to have to just start bringing troops home and using the executive power that he has. And remember and remind everybody, he's the frickin' president. When he says do something, you do it or you're fucking fired. It's that simple. Period. And these people have been getting away with going, no, he didn't really mean that. And then and Trump is just enough of a fucking appeasing, wanna be liked little fucking bitch that he goes along with this crap. It's like, no, fuck you, do this. It would be great. Back to the last point about Tulsi Gabbard, I'm going to tell you right now. She's not going to become president. She's not going to be the Democratic nominee. None of those things are going to happen. And if the Democrats are serious about running Warren and Buttigieg or Buttgiggle or whatever the fuck his name is, if they're serious about running Warren and a gay guy, they've lost the black vote. Period. They're done. Trump will win. Done. They can't win Florida without the black vote. They can't win and the Hispanic vote. They can't win Pennsylvania. They can't win any of these states. They won't be able to print enough fake ballots out of Philadelphia to turn the election to Trump. It won't happen because these people will all stay home just like they did in 2016. So if that's their plan, not going to happen. Then Trump's a second administration, and Tulsi Gabbard will be offered a cabinet position, a low-level cabinet position, but a cabinet position nonetheless. I think VA director or maybe something else, something along those lines would be very, very strong for her. It'd be a good experience for her. It really would. She moves into, her 40s with that under her belt, and she can come back and, run as I'm not the crazy Democrat. I'm the only non-crazy Democrat left or whatever. So. All right. I'd love for Tulsi Gabbard to be Bolton's replacement, but, that's not going to happen. Latinos are incredibly conservative when it comes to families. And absolutely. This will not be good. So. LG Bear says, look, they've already lost the black vote. Harris and Booker have no traction, and they don't like any of the rest of them. I know. It's coming. Look, Trump has done a lot of things domestically very strongly. It's strong. The tax cut was a brilliant piece of political kit, and I explained that 2 years ago when it went through. We've got an article on that. You can look it up. It was FDR-like in its design to change the face of the electorate and the middle class and everybody else, and to change the electoral map. His foreign policy has been an absolute disaster. And it shows, and where his inexperience truly lies. All right, guys. half an hour sounds good. I gotta go. I got stuff to write. I've got daughters to pick up from school. I got things to rejoice. I got happy dances to dance, which I'm not gonna do in public because just not gonna do that in public. Alrighty, you guys take care. You be well. Talk soon. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe. If you want, buy some goat swag over at Cafe Press Store. All the links are down below. Tweet, subscribe, tip via Brave. You know the drill. All the links are there below. You guys take care. Keep your stick on the ice.